The Ohio legislature seems poised to change the state's fireworks law, and we have some fireworks of our own as we discuss that, some very different opinions on how that law should be changed. This is the Opinion Show, where we get together with members of the editorial board of the Plain Dealer and the Northeast Ohio Media Group. I'm here with Opinion Director Betsy Sullivan, Deputy Editorial Page Editor and columnist Kevin O'Brien, and editorial writers Chris Evans and Sharon Broussard. Betsy, if you could just give us the context of why we're having this discussion now, what happened at the end of the last legislative term and what we expect to happen. That would be a good initiation for the conversation.
So current Ohio law essentially allows people to buy fireworks, but they have to attest that they will take it out of state within 48 hours. The legislature, this law, it's widely believed, was enacted because we have a big fireworks manufacturer, based in the Youngstown area, Phantom Fireworks, that actually, per the law, pretty much has a monopoly. One of the impetuses, I think, for changing the law is that moratorium is due to expire at the end of this year. So the gentleman who is the CEO of that firm wrote some rather large checks just around Election Day, and lo and behold, to the governor, to the House Republicans, lo and behold, in that lame duck session, this reform legislation surfaced that would end that requirement, that what people call the liar's law, that you have to pretend that you're going to take the fireworks out of state to purchase it, but it also extends the moratorium on giving other fireworks manufacturers a license. So, you can sort of, in my view, see it as kind of the welfare act for a certain fireworks manufacturer. That we think it is going to resurface in this legislative session.
Right, and one of the key elements was that it would have legalized the purchase of bottle rockets, which we'll get to in a minute when we talk about the safety. In the discussion we had about this a week or so ago, pretty much everybody agreed that the way this proposal came about was not good and that the law itself wasn't the better solution, but it did lead to a discussion about how ridiculous existing law is, because thousands of Ohioans go to fireworks stores every year and buy fireworks and sign a paper saying they're going to take them out of state when they have no intention, basically turning those people into lawbreakers. And so we started to discuss what would be a better way to change the law. And to illustrate how silly the law is, Chris Evans had a pretty good anecdote.
Yeah, I went to my local neighborhood fireworks store, American Fireworks in Hudson. And it's a wonderful place, and you walk in, and it's all Class C explosives. And if I remember correctly, they had a great new novelty thing called hen-laying eggs, which had the magic words, emits flaming pellets. So I bought that, I bought my whistling bottle rockets, I bought my Black Cat fireworks, and when you exit and you're paying for it, the cashier is there, and you have to fill out a form. And one of the things on the form is what destination are these fireworks being shipped to? And you have to say somewhere outside of the state of Ohio.
And where do you always list?
Well, I did Kabul for a while, then I did Mogadishu, but on this day, I wanted to do 3834 Zappa Frank, which was the new planet named for Frank Zappa.
Okay. But what did you see ahead of your time?
So I'm pretty excited because I want to get this hen thing going. And in front of me, or a couple of people in front of me, there were these two guys. And the cashier was saying, you didn't fill out this form, where are you going to be shipping these fireworks to? And so these guys look at each other, and one of them says, Toledo. And she goes, well, I can't sell them to you because you have to take them out of the state. So you have to name a city out of the state where you're going to take them. So they look at each other again, and they say Cincinnati. And you can hear everybody in line is like, oh, God. And she's like, look, I mean, it has to be somewhere out of the state. I can't sell them to you if you're going to take them to somewhere in Ohio. So they look at each other again. And these guys don't seem like they're stupid or high or anything, but they just seem puzzled. And then they say, Steubenville. And there's a highway state highway patrolman standing by the cashier. And he looks at them, And he says, Pittsburgh.
Which demonstrates
So
that everybody
in the
knows-
line is clapping, you know, yeah.
And this demonstrates that everybody knows you go in, you fill it out, even though you have no intention of doing it. So okay, the legislature is going to deal with this.
Right.
What would be a better way of dealing with fireworks? And I know, Sharon, you feel strongly that the best way to deal with them is to outlaw them completely. So why don't you talk about that a little
I mean,
bit?
I don't like the current law because I do agree that does make liars of Ohioans. But on the other hand, I don't like the idea that, you know, every Tom, Dick, Harry, and Harriet will be able to buy these things and set them off, injuring, you know, their friends, family, neighbors, innocent neighbors. One of the groups that testified against it
There are
was
no
the-
innocent neighbors.
the Prevent Blindness Association testified against it, pointing out that fireworks injuries have increased, and that's particularly true among youngsters under 15. And they had a horrific example of, you know, a 4-month-old who was out in her backyard when the neighbors set off fireworks, and they landed on her side of the fence, and she suffered burns and ended up at the Akron burn unit. And I just fear that there will be far too many stories just like that story.
And one of the factors here is that commercial fireworks as defined do include, you know, rockets. That, you know, the difference between commercial and professional fireworks is mortars are used for professional, rockets are used for commercial. That's still a lot of firepower, and when, you know, projectiles that go up come down. The overwhelming testimony on this, you know, idea of essentially making fireworks purchases legal in Ohio was negative. And again, I would take issue with this idea that because we have a liar's law, it should be changed. Because I see that we have a law that essentially exists for the betterment of one manufacturer. That manufacturer would like to see the moratorium extended. That's why the legislature is having this discussion. I mean, I think there's a lot of, you know, this is more about how lobbyists control the agenda in Columbus than it is about fireworks.
But here is the rub. Thousands of Ohioans are buying fireworks every year. The people have spoken with their purse strings. They're buying the fireworks. You drive through any neighborhood in the Cleveland area around July 4th, and you can hear them everywhere. So is there a way to properly regulate them so that you have less accessibility to the dangerous ones? Right now, you go to those fireworks stores and you have incredibly dangerous things that anybody can buy as long as they say they'll take it out of state. Is there a way to change that law so that people could still get their July 4th kick while reducing the huge danger of most of the stuff that's sold without regard to the chief manufacturer in the state? What would be the best service for Ohioans? And I
think it's all or nothing. I mean, I think you either have to go Sharon's route and just have an outright ban, or you just apply common sense. You buy them and you set them off, because even if you craft a law specific to Ohio and just limit it to fireworks, no rockets, and they have great rockets, and they also have these platforms you can buy which set off like 50 of them at a time.
Right.
But anyway, sorry.
Let's stop that point.
You have online sales. So what people will do is they'll just go online and buy the fireworks and the stuff online and have it shipped to their house.
But isn't there a chance if you said, okay, firecrackers will be legal, smoke bombs will be illegal, or legal, sparklers will be legal, that people, that would be their vent, that they'd say, okay, I'll get the legal stuff, that way I'm not breaking the law. Right now.
Think for a minute, there's a right answer here.
What is the right answer?
It's no.
Where do you stand?
No, no special deals for manufacturers and freedom for the people. If people want to use these things, they're going to use them, whether the law says they can or not. My neighborhood sounds like West Beirut from June 30th to July 5th every year. If you walk to you walk down to the park to watch the official fireworks display, there are 25 unofficial ones going on, and most of it's happening up in the sky. People, you're right, the people have spoken. If you pass a more restrictive law, they're not going to obey it. They're going to do whatever they need to do to have their fun on the 4th of July. Yes, people get hurt occasionally, very occasionally. And characterizing this stuff as horribly dangerous is just way over.
Oh,
way
okay,
overboard.
so
It's
to,
fun.
all right, hold on. Tell that to the emergency doctor and emergency nurse, you know.
I know, they're
on
lobbyists
the line.
were there.
Yes,
I
you know,
understand
so
that.
I mean, I think that they are dangerous, and I think that maybe there's not enough education out there to explain to people how and why they're dangerous, because they just seem like they're fun. But really, for some people, they could just have drastic consequences, and that's why I would be for probably an unenforceable ban. But
Let's make a law we
but
can't
it's
enforce that
also-
criminalizes behavior that's going to go on anyway to save a couple of injuries every now and then. That's
But, you
way
know,
overboard.
As Sharon's example of the little girl in the neighboring yard illustrates, what goes up must come down.
Take the child inside. If you're
Well-
worried about it, take her inside.
Again,
That's the
that
advantage of
person
whistling
and-
bottle rockets.
and
There you go. You know
her
they're coming.
family
You know
are
they're
not
coming.
in control of the situation. You can't keep
They
people
certainly
inside.
are. It's their yard. It's their kid.
But
Yeah,
wait,
but
wait,
they may
let's,
not have realized till too late
They
what's
weren't
going
worried
on.
about it.
Betsy's got a good point. When
Yeah,
you're
but they should've
shooting
been.
flaming material skyward in crowded neighborhoods like Cleveland, you can't discount the fire hazard that's created by that. I mean, once the stuff is moving, it does seem to present a much greater threat.
Got a hose?
Right, and
No, I'm serious.
And you
This
have
is
your
not a
wits-
huge deal. This
And
is
you
something
have
that's
your
pretty
wits
easily
about
taken
you
care
to
of.
hurry up and run down to your neighbor's house and make sure that hose is out and you know where it is? I mean, probably not.
And again, I have to just be the total cynic here. When you say, freedom to purchase and no, sweet deals for manufacturers, but that isn't what's happening here. And I agree with.
I will take the freedom to purchase.
I agree with
Yeah.
Chris that there should probably be a way to fashion a compromise here, but I don't think that is what the legislature is up to. I think this is really just a shell game, appealing to the people who love to do fireworks so that they can give this manufacturer his sweet deal for a longer period of time. That's what I think.
For
it
the
is.
health aspect of this, one of the things we discussed is if you were to change this law to build in an automatic sunset so that it would require an assessment of the health effects over that time, would there be an increase in emergency room visits? Is there more damage being done if you legalize the use of them in the state? And I thought we reached a pretty good consensus on that so that it would cause a review of however the law was changed.
I think that as long as you have a very deep-pocketed, lobbying machine propelling what legislation exists, as illustrated by the fact that we have a moratorium that expires at the end of this year, and that's the big push to change the law. I'm not sure that a sunset would do anything because you just, push it forward again. If, in fact, this is being driven not by safety considerations or consumer considerations, but rather by manufacturers.
or fun.
Yeah.
I mean, every now and then, you have one of these fireworks businesses explode. I mean, there was a case, I think it was down in Cincinnati a couple of years ago, where it blew up and people were killed. But we're still buying fireworks. I mean, it's
And people are still building them and
people are
putting
still
up factories
building
to
them,
make them.
and
Yeah.
I think there is a huge demand for this, and I think, like Kevin says, I mean, people are going to get them, and they're going to set them off, and yep, every now and then a finger's going to get blown off and stuff like that, but it's fun.
We haven't discussed
That's
that.
part of the fun is the danger.
Right, that's
Yes.
true. It is true.
It is true.
That is what people are thinking when they're lighting the fuse.
Right, it's like,
But other
whoa.
people who are, young people who are nearby who are just, collateral damage of this kind of thing. And basically with the sunset provision, we'd basically be saying like, okay, during that 2-year period, we are willing to accept that there'll be some injuries, devastating injuries to kids.
Well, what you'd want to see is, are there more of those? Is it happening in greater numbers than before the law was changed? I mean, it's happening now. People buy fireworks, and every once in a while somebody gets hurt. Right. People get hurt cooking. People get hurt walking across the street.
Right, that's
Yeah,
the same reason why we never let any of our kids
essential.
ride in a car.
Or ride the
It was
bike,
just too darn
or
dangerous.
ski, or toboggan.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not the same.
Okay, well, as you can see, we do have some fireworks about fireworks. We'd really like to know what you think about this. Do you think they should be more legal, less legal? How would you alter the law? Please let us know in the comments where you found this show, and we'll see you next time on The Opinion Show.